Have you ever wondered how planes are able to take off in the depths of winter in Siberia? How are planes able to fly in minus 50 below zero? Well, today, we're going to find out. Because we do find ourselves in Yakutia, the coldest region of Siberia. It is the middle of winter, and the temperature is hovering between minus 40 and minus 50 degrees Celsius. Today, we're going to be flying on a very special plane, not only because it was built in the Soviet Union and still operating nowadays, but also because this might arguably be the rarest airplane in the world. We're talking about the Antonov-38, a twin-engined turboprop designed to withstand the harsh climates and the rough gravel runway strips of the Soviet Union. Only 11 were built and only 2 remain in service nowadays. Both of them operated by a single airline in Siberia, and on top of that, they're operated on a single route only. Just one. This is why a video like this could only start from the airport of Mirny, a small town in Yakutia where the Alrosa airline is based, and where they rotate their 2 Antonov-38s on the way to Udachny, an even more remote settlement 500 kilometers to the north, near the Arctic Circle. Wow, look at that! It's so cold that the fog is reigning supreme near the area of Mirny Airport, one of the most legendary airports that you could ever dream of visiting. Look at that, you can see the Cyrillic characters which put together read Airport, because this is a Soviet airport, so that's why you've got airport written there in Soviet styling, and over there you've got Alrosa's logo, which is the company that pretty much runs Mirny Airport, and also the airline that we are going to be flying on today, the only airline in the world that flies the Antonov-38. The airline that we're flying on today has actually got quite an interesting history, because Yakutia is massive. It's the largest federal subject in the whole of Russia. It's even bigger than freaking India. And this specific area of western Yakutia is very much rich in diamonds and natural resources. So the Alrosa parent organization is actually the state company that manages all the diamond extraction operations all over the region. So settlements like Mirny and Udachny were founded just for that, as mining outposts. And the entirety of the population in Mirny and Udachny is employed by Alrosa. And as a subsidiary of the Alrosa parent company, you've got Alrosa, the airline, which runs all the flight routes in and out of this part of Yakutia. And look at what you've got to the side of the main terminal building. You've got a Soviet mosaic, the type of which exists all over the former Soviet Union, but this is something special to it, because you can see that it's halfway covered in ice. Man, look at it. It's so cold. It's so cold that this mosaic is covered in freaking ice. And obviously this mosaic is drawn in a style and a theme that again reminds us of Soviet aviation, because you've got the sun and you've got 3 Soviet-looking aircraft that are flying towards the sun. Now, I can't really keep filming in minus 40 temperatures much longer, so I will have to go inside of this beautiful terminal building, and I will go and check in for my flight to Polyarny. Oh god, I can't feel my hands anymore. It's very likely that I will be forbidden from filming inside the terminal, so I will try and keep you updated whenever I can. And so I entered Mirny Airport, the place where I was hoping to finally take my spot in the Olympus of Soviet aviation YouTubers.
Добрый день. А можно уточнить, будет Antonov-38, да?
Да.
Да, будет. Хорошо, замечательно.
Багаж есть у вас?
Нет. Все, замечательно. Спасибо.
Mirny Airport is small. There are just 2 gates and a single airside hall. And this was definitely one of the airports where so few Italians had passed by before. A young Yakut couple even gave me their very cute Yakut baby as a present. Such was the occasion. Nah, I'm just kidding. They just wanted me to hold their baby for a couple of seconds so that they could take a picture, as if me and my friend all of a sudden were Jesus and Michael Jackson. And then finally, my lifelong dream of flying on an Antonov-38 came closer and closer, as it was now time to board.
Спасибо. And there you go. We're as close to an Antonov-38 as we've ever been. And we're as close as we could have ever gotten to the only operating Antonov-38 in the world, in the midst of a very foggy and icy runway strip here at Mirny Airport. Oh my god, this just has to be the best day of my life, and it has all the potential in this world to get even better.
The staff at Mirny Airport seemed to be very aware of the rarity of this absolute gem of Soviet aviation, so much that they seem to hold on to it quite preciously, and they are very restrictive when it comes to snapping cheeky shots of the legendary Antonov-38 of Alrosa. My creativity was yet again undermined. Even though all of this sort of contributed to the whole aura surrounding the airplane that we were about to board. And when we did finally board the An-38, it was utter chaos. Everyone, quite understandably, was rushing to their seats in order to not spend too much time on the outside in crazy sub-zero temperatures. And amidst all of this, at one point, it even looked like there was no seat that I could take.
Нет, у меня было место и в окне, но непонятно.
Места, и там впереди тоже места.
Там занято, сказали.
At the end, though, I did manage to find a lucky seat at the back of the plane so that I could avoid standing the whole way from Mirny to Udachny as if I was on a random bus. I'm pretty sure we got scammed by the check-in agent because this flight was supposed to be only half full, but it's not. It's completely full to the point where I wasn't even able to get to my assigned seat, but at the end of the day, who cares about assigned seats in minus 50-degree weather, am I right? So I got relegated to the very back of the airplane, right next to the toilet, which is actually not used as a toilet on these trips. You can see you've got a ladder and you've got a small suitcase as well here. But the good news is that I've got a big ass window right next to me. Oh my god, engines are starting to get so loud. Oh. Everything was happening so fast. Mirny Airport is so small that it gets something like 3 flights a day, so there was surely going to be no delay, no queuing up to get to the runway or anything like that. Soon enough, our Antonov-38 registration number RA41901 lifted off. Something that this very airframe had been doing for over 30 years, as it first flew in 1997 for a regional airline of Khabarovsk in eastern Russia. Right after takeoff, we started heading north towards the direction of Udachny, even though technically our actual destination was written down as Polyarny, PYJ, due to the fact that the airport serving the town of Udachny is actually located 15 kilometers outside of the town, and it's closer to the even more remote settlement of Polyarny. It's a bit like London Stansted, which is not actually in London, but it's in Stansted. Polyarny is such a fitting name for an airport at these latitudes, by the way, because Polyarny, translated into English, literally means polar. Oh, thank God, we were able to complete takeoff successfully. We had no problem despite the prohibitive temperatures here in
the middle of Siberia. We took off just fine, and it was a very fantastic takeoff, I would say. We didn't have to deal with turbulence, the aircraft did not move around too much, and that just speaks volume to the expertise of these very skilled Siberian pilots who have likely been born and raised here in Siberia. They have trained and flown all across Siberia their whole life, and that's why for them it's like an ordinary Tuesday. It's just like any other Tuesday, whereas for us, at least for me, it's the best Tuesday of my life.
The An-38 honestly did not look a day over 30. The insides of the airplane had been left unchanged since the beginning of times. Lovely red silk seats in a 1-2 configuration, like your proper urban bus. And the smell, oh my god, the smell. Despite the temperatures, you could still very much sense the typical smell of Soviet-made airplanes.
Can I actually put the blinds down? Does it work? Oh, it does work. Look, amazing. So, if we were traveling in summer when the sun is a lot more often shining up in the sky, we would have even been able to find shelter from the blinding sunshine rays, right? Can I actually put it back up without doing too much damage? Yes, I can. Okay, awesome. Wow. Even the blinds, look at all the comforts of Alrosa's Antonov-38. Questo per te è il tuo primo volo siberiano e soprattutto è il tuo primo volo a bordo di un autentico velivolo sovietico. Come sono le sensazioni?
Sono emozionato, ma potrei essere più emozionato se avessi avuto un posto vicino al finestrino e se si vedesse qualcosa. Però veramente sembra di essere indietro nel tempo.
Chiaro. Stiamo tornando indietro nel tempo, ai tempi della Siberia sovietica. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Like, honestly, how the hell did I end up on a freaking jump seat? This is the emergency exit door. I mean, this is actually the normal door that we've used to board the airplane, but this will also be used as obviously the emergency exit door. And I can see that this is a jump seat because I've just realized that, I mean, I've got a literal seat, but you see, there's nothing for me to lay my back on. This is a normal wall of the airplane. You've got this piece of cloth which says Alrosa, Avia Campania, because this airplane, as you saw from the outside, you saw the majestic livery of this Antonov-38. This airplane belongs to Alrosa Airline, the only airline who's got the guts to operate in this kind of temperatures. I was able to get a hold of one of the rarest safety instruction cards of the world. This is probably the only existing safety card of an Antonov-38. You can see it on the top right, Antonov-38. Here you can see confirmation that this airplane has actually 27 seats, and my seat is the one that you see on the very back of the plane, like this one on its own. And here you can also find an in-flight magazine. Well done, props to Alrosa. Even Ryanair in Europe doesn't really do in-flight magazines anymore, but Alrosa in the middle of Siberia does. And here actually you can see the entire fleet of Alrosa, which does not only consist of Soviet airplanes, of course, because you've got some Boeing 737s as well. You've got a few Antonov-24s, you've got the Antonov-38 that we're flying on today, and you've got a few Soviet helicopters as well. The reason why Alrosa needs airplanes that are a bit more long range, so to speak, Boeing 737s for example, is because look, this is the entire network of Alrosa. So they also fly in Europe, or rather in the European part of Russia, for example. They go from Moscow to St. Petersburg and also down to the south in Sochi, and then in the Asian part of Russia they go to Novosibirsk, Irkutsk, on Lake Baikal, and they go as far east as Vladivostok. And also here you can see what is probably the shortest route, the one that we're operating now, the one going from Mirny all the way to Polyarny on board of this very Antonov-38. You can see that this part of Siberia, Yakutia, is very much rich in rivers. You can see a big river just down here. I am pretty sure that we've started descent now, so we may not be as far away from landing as we were a couple of minutes ago. I think we're definitely lower in the sky now. Right, so in a few minutes we will have to face the cold again. It's gotten so warm inside of this airplane. Actually, I think it must have been like 20 degrees above zero, and in a short while we will have to go back out in minus 45. I'm not looking forward to that at all. By the way, it's absolutely crazy that now that we've almost made it to Udachny, we didn't see any infrastructure on the way from Mirny to Udachny. There was no town, no populated centers, there were no roads at all that we flew over in the past hour or so. This really is one of the most remote regions of the world, and how could it not be, considering the temperatures? Okay, now the noise coming out of the motors and the engines are much less, which means that propulsion intensity of the engines must have decreased because we're very close to landing now. Oh god.
A good old friend of mine who was also into aviation used to always tell me that the number one rule in aviation was, for any aircraft, to keep even the number of takeoffs and landings. We had managed to take off successfully, but did we also manage to land just as successfully? I mean, if I am here to tell the tale, that's a huge spoiler for you, right?
Ok, ci siamo quasi. Dov'è? Ecco che comincia la pista. Cavolo, siamo in mezzo al bianco più assoluto. Abbiamo toccato terra. We made it. We freaking made it. Look at the landscapes around Polyarny Airport. The Polar Airport. Oh, never in my life I think I've seen a better fitting name than this. Everything is white. Everything is absolutely white.
What happened then was absolutely insane. I couldn't wait to get off the plane to film once again the very iconic livery of Alrosa's An-38. But as soon as we did step out, we were surrounded by a group of 10 to 15 gentlemen wearing yellow vests. And they were all screaming repeatedly out of the top of their lungs, "No filming! No filming!" That was such an absurd scene. I had never seen anything like that. You do get sometimes the odd ramp agent telling you to put your camera away and things like that, but 15 people? Surely the staff at Polyarny Airport had been alerted of the presence of two Italian weirdos who wanted to film so bad an unusual sexy airframe in the middle of Siberia. So they had sent out a few people to intercept us and escort us to the outside of the airport grounds.
К сожалению, им дадут разрешение снимать еще раз. Знаете, что это единственный в мире, да?
Ту-154.
Туполев. Да,
Вот.
Туполев.
Сейчас у нас в авиакомпании Алроса был последний, который делал гражданский рейс. И вот
да?
он совершил последний полет в Новосибирск. И там его, короче, оставили. Он сейчас там стоит. А так сейчас только МЧС и военный, короче.
Welcome to one of the most legendary locations that we've ever set foot on in the history of our channel. Welcome to one of the northernmost airports in Russia. Welcome to Polyarny. And I'll tell you what, this is supposed to be Polar Airport? Well, It does look very polar, I'll tell you that. Look, everything is white. Everything is covered in ice and snow. Even more than what it was in freaking Mirny. Man, they really are restrictive when it comes to filming in this part of the world. They said that I wouldn't be allowed in any shape or form to film anything within the airport grounds. But they did say that I would be allowed to film as much as I wanted outside of the main airport terminal. I mean, I'm saying main airport terminal, but there's only one. It's this one. Undeniably Soviet. As you can tell, again, from aeroport written on top of the building. And look at the landscape, right? What's even over there? I did try and ask very nicely if there was any way, shape or form that I could film again the Antonov-38, but they also very politely and nicely said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Okay, that's fine. But hey, at least what we can film is another piece of iconic Soviet aviation. Look! This is another Antonov. This is an Antonov 2. Again, belonging to Alrosa. But it's now obviously dismissed and it's now sitting here not far from Polyarny airport, just as a memorial, just as a monument basically. And it's all covered in ice and snow. Again, how fitting for an airport that goes by the name of Polyarny. Polyarny airport, polar airport. Now we need to try and make it to Udachny, to the main town, which is some 10 or 15 kilometers away from here. Oh, and we'll have to do that notwithstanding a temperature of minus 41 and the wind chill is minus 50 according to Google. I'm not really sure how wind chill is calculated. All I know is that there is a little bit of wind and it's chilly. So that's enough for me to say that it's freaking cold. And so our little Siberian adventure was then coming to an end. All we needed to do was just find some accommodation in the center of Udachny that could host us for the night. And in order to do that, we found a Kyrgyz taxi driver to take us to Udachny proper. Man, all taxi drivers from Russia are from freaking Kyrgyzstan, even in the most remote parts of Siberia. How fascinating is that? Ну, поедем тогда.
Если долго, больше 20-25 лет живешь, да?
Да.
Ты в другой теплой городе не живешь, умираешь быстро.
А, да? А зачем вы приехали в Удачный из Киргизстана? Как?
И я на заработки приехал. Я служба служил. После этого я 6 лет работал в спецназе.
Российские или киргизские? Киргизские, конечно.
А такое время я когда работал, у меня зарплата 9400 была.
9400.
Да, 10 тысяч. Все, давайте, брат, удачи.
Спасибо за помощь.
I hope you enjoyed this little ride on a true piece of Soviet aviation history, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers! Thank you! Bye!